Okay, so one or two tech issues issues to start with. My laptop decided to freeze, so I had to log out and log back in again. Um, so I do apologise if you did hop on while I was attending to that. So let's just get cracking. Because it's live streaming now in the Facebook group. So if you need to catch up, you can catch up on the live stream recording. So I'm just going to I'm going to share my screen. So sharing screen, I'm going to bring up my PDF. The training. Right, okay, so for those of you who don't know me, my name's Kate Eaton and I'm a nutrition and lifestyle coach, and I specialise in immune and inflammatory health conditions, and I have done for the last 16, 17 years. Now, the principles that I'm going to teach you today I'm covering very much what I would refer to as the core basics that you need to know to maintain your health on a preventative level, and of course to be able to turn a health condition around. These principles have contributed to allowing me to turn my own health around quite dramatically. If you don't know my history, I have advanced Crohn's disease. I was diagnosed, about 16 years ago, something like that. I mean, although I did nutrition back then, sadly, I didn't know enough, shall we say. My knowledge didn't stretch far enough to be able to really understand exactly what made the body tick. And as a result, unfortunately, eating healthily wasn't enough for me, and I deteriorated rapidly. The drugs weren't working on me, and my condition went dramatically downhill to the point where I was housebound for 2 months. I collapsed in the middle of London because I was so depleted of nutrition through the inflammation that was in the gut. I was in a pretty bad way. I was close to needing surgery. I was told that my only hope of possibly getting into remission was through a drug called Humira. The risks were far too great in my opinion. So I decided to take my chances, and it paid off. I've been drug and symptom free now for 7 years. So yeah, it's it's a very, very big jigsaw puzzle, as you'll learn as we go through this training today. You'll learn it's a very, very big jigsaw puzzle. So somebody was just messaging me that's going to come on this training. It's a very, very big jigsaw puzzle, and you have to complete that jigsaw puzzle. The principles, again, have also allowed my mum to dramatically extend her life expectancy by many, many, many years. She battled several cancers for 14 years, 2 specific ones for 14 years. Both of them required the immune system. Again, we'll talk an awful lot about the immune system today. They required the immune system to keep a lid on them, essentially. And they were ticking time bombs. So it didn't matter how good her diet and her lifestyle was, how well her immune system was, she was also always going to be faced with the potential of developing these cancers. Because one was driven by a virus called the HPV virus. Some of you may be familiar with it. It's linked to cervical cancers. And the other one was HPV virus. HER2 positive breast cancer. Which is, I lost my mum last year, sadly, and it was the treatment for the HER2 positive breast cancer that actually took my mum from us suddenly. she actually died cancer free, believe it or not, despite what they thought she was going to ever achieve. She became cancer free, but the treatment damaged her heart and damaged her lungs, so her heart literally stopped suddenly. So, but without the principles that I'm going to teach you, she wouldn't have survived as long as she did. We'd have lost her a long, long time ago. And she certainly, I mean, they put her on a treatment program that gave her less than 5% success rate of getting into remission. Her condition had progressed to secondaries when they diagnosed her with HER2. So it had gone to the liver, it had gone to the lungs, it had gone to the lymph nodes, and they'd given her months to live. Yet she still turned it around. Why did she turn it around? Because the immune system was able to perform its job efficiently without having lots and lots of challenges bombarding it and keeping it from doing its job efficiently on a daily basis, in terms of dealing with the cancer and keeping all the organs functioning and on a daily, regularly and actively on a daily basis. Okay, so that's what keeps us alive, so to speak. So, without further ado, I'm going to move on. Now, these principles essentially apply whether we are looking at prevention or we are looking at recovery. Now, the only difference is that prevention is 100% in our own hands. We can't rely on anybody else to give us a crutch or anything else in terms of prevention. If we are to reduce our risks of developing any illnesses in the future, it is in our hands to take action now, and we have to take action today. The longer we leave it, the more we are gambling with our health and gambling with our futures, essentially. Recovery, however, is a bit of a shared responsibility. So some of the responsibilities with the medical profession, and they're essentially, giving you a tool, giving you a vehicle to buy your body time, to buy you time to improve the conditions that your body has to work with on a daily basis. So it is very, very much a shared responsibility. So whereas a lot of people will think that as soon as they're diagnosed with a problem, that it's down to the medical profession to fix them, that sadly is not the case. Yes, they will aid you. Yes, they will assist you. Yes, they'll give you tools to buy your body time, but that doesn't get you off the hook, because ultimately it's your body that can only rectify the problem, can rectify the root cause of the problem. Okay. So just to give you a bit more of a breakdown of this, you've got, so prevention, where your responsibility is split up with is you've got to address your primary causes of inflammation and cell damage, which is what we're going to cover today in this training. You are responsible for making sure that you receive any early diagnoses for anything that's a potential problem, and that requires you being on the ball with looking for symptoms, looking for signs that there's a potential problem, lurking around, and going to get tested early, because the sooner you can get tested, the earlier they can catch a problem, the less dependent you are on drugs. The more dependent you are on drugs, the harder it is to overcome a problem. Okay, so it is down to you to make sure that you get an early diagnosis. Now, I know a lot of people will say to me, yeah, but Kate, I've been to the doctors and they won't give me this test, they won't give me that test, they're fobbing me off, and they do that, absolutely, they do. But you've got to remember, you are responsible for you, and you have to, if they won't do it for you, if they won't give you the relevant test that you need, you have to take the bull by the horns and invest in that yourself. Yes, it comes at a cost, but it's better to pay out money for early diagnosis than it is to pay the price in your health deteriorating rapidly. Okay, because it's cheaper to work to treat something early and to treat something and to address something on a preventative level than it is to deal with a problem that's become out of control. Okay, yes, you can rein it in, but it's a bigger job, and it means you need to throw lots and lots of tools and tricks and magic tricks at it to rein it back in, essentially. Okay, so recovery, for those of you who have any conditions that you're dealing with currently. So again, you've got to deal with the primary causes, because you've got to relieve that workload on the body so that it can only focus on the sole thing of getting you healthy and well again. The other portion is the drugs and treatments. That's what's going to assist in your recovery as well. So they're going to buy your body time. And then the other thing, again, which unfortunately is down to you, is getting the body working smarter. Now that requires using more advanced nutritional products. That sort of works on more of an immunotherapy level. Now I'm not going to go into all that today because that's more advanced stuff. But I will tell you at the end how you can discuss that with me at another time. So what are some of the potential signs that the body may be under pressure and dealing with something that may be underlying? Digestive issues, that's a big one, and that usually indicates that there's inflammation going on in the gut. Fatigue, so you may be feeling quite tired. Again, that could be down to the fact that your body's dealing with a specific underlying health condition, or it could be that your body's trying to battle lots and lots of toxins in the body that's preventing the organs from functioning efficiently. Or it could also be that you are lacking in certain nutrients. Again, I will cover that towards the end of this workshop, where I cover basic nutritional requirements. But that can be a reason why you are not full of energy and performing to your full potential on a day-to-day basis. Fat gain. Now, fat gain is actually an inflammatory disorder. Now, there is a number of things that can affect you, can cause you to gain fat, but predominantly when you gain fat, the term obesity is actually an inflammatory disorder. Okay. Skin reactions, again, that will indicate that there's the immune system's overreacting in some way. It can indicate that there's inflammation going on in the body. Your skin reactions can be that your immune system reacting against certain drugs even. So yeah, that can be an indication that something's not quite right. Joint pains, oral health problems. They can be caused through the immune system behaving erratically, and of course inflammation. Frequent colds and flus, which obviously indicates that the immune system is compromised in some way, so it's not able to identify invading viruses that's coming in and out of the body. Feeling under the weather generally, depression, and these are all indications that that something may not be quite right. Depression has actually been linked to inflammation in the brain, funnily enough. So yeah, all these things can be telltale signs that the body is facing lots and lots of challenges. So what is detox and cleanse? So I'm going to just cover some of the nuts and bolts as to how things work before I actually go into the diet and the lifestyle aspects, because it's really important that you understand the nuts and bolts side of things as to how things work, because otherwise the rest of it's not really going to fall into place and make sense for you. So detox or cleanse. Now I'm sure many of you have either engaged in some of these, maybe you engage in some of these regularly now, or maybe you've looked into them. Juices and smoothies. I mean, I'm a massive juicer and smoothie fan, as some of you may know. Detox teas, supplements, colon cleanses, stopping sugar and carbs for certain periods of time, cutting out alcohol for a certain period of time. All these can be good for you when they're engaged in correctly. Don't get me wrong, absolutely 100% they can be very good for you when engaging correctly. but they are not detox. They will not detox your body. So despite what you may have been told, just, by the company that you've purchased from or whatever, these will not detox you, okay? Detox is actually the job of our natural defense system, okay? So let's just, so what is our natural defense system? Our natural defense system is, in fact, our internal antioxidants. Now, you're all probably familiar with dietary antioxidants, which is probably where, a lot of you will do juices and smoothies and have certain supplements, dietary supplements. And although they are very good for you, they do get saturated through the body. So let's just look at the role of antioxidants and why the body produces its own internal antioxidants. So if you see here, antioxidants are designed to protect our healthy cells, essentially. Okay, so if you see here, we've got a free radical. Now, we produce naturally free radicals in our body. It's part of our aging process, unfortunately. We can't avoid it. But we increase those free radicals through lots and lots of stress, through smoking, through certain drinking alcohol, pollution in the air. All these things are going to contribute to the raised level of free radicals in the body. Okay. Now, when we have a free radical in the body, what it is essentially, it's an unstable cell, in a nutshell. So if you see here, we've got like atoms, electrons around this cell, and around this free radical, we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So we've got an uneven number of electrons. Okay. Now, if you can see here from the diagram, what's happening is this angry free radical is trying to steal one of our healthy cells molecules. Now atoms. Now our healthy cells have an even number. So if you just count them here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So it has an even number. Now, as this free radical steals this electron from our healthy cell, it is now an unstable cell itself because it has an uneven number of electrons. So it's the less atoms that this healthy cell has surrounding it, it then becomes damaged. The DNA becomes damaged. So if you can see here, at the less electrons the healthy cell has, it is not looking very healthy and very happy whatsoever. And that's because the DNA structure of that healthy cell has been damaged. And this is where our very, very friendly antioxidants come into play. And that's why the body produces them naturally. It donates, your antioxidants cells don't really play any specific role in the body other than it has an extra amount. It donates all these atoms to these angry free radicals, which means it doesn't have to steal them from your healthy cells. Okay, so that means that your immune system and your healthy cells as a whole are performing on full power. So they're performing as they were supposed to perform, okay? And that's why we need to relieve the workload on the body so that we are reducing the level of these free radicals, okay? So that these antioxidants, the primary antioxidants that we have internally can serve its purpose with our day-to-day lifestyle, day-to-day just living. But if we have lots and lots of challenges that we're throwing at it every single day in terms of our diet, our poor diet and lifestyle choices, well, that means we are going to run out of these to donate to our free radicals, our angry free radicals, and it will inevitably move on to your healthy cells. Okay, so this is why it's very much a two-tone approach. You've got to get the body working smarter. So you've got to get your primary antioxidants firing on all cylinders. And you also have to relieve the workload on the body. Okay. So there's two types of antioxidants, as I said. So you've got your primary ones that the body produces naturally. So if any of you are in network marketing, you may be familiar with this pyramid diagram. everything at the top is more active and everything, and everything at the bottom is less active. Okay, so you've got your SOD, which is your superoxide dismutase. That is your frontline defense. And that is the first thing that comes, that gets to the free radicals and donates these atoms. So it doesn't have to bother your healthy cells. So it's very much like a sprinter. It's very quick off the mark, but it very, very quickly becomes saturated. Very, very quickly becomes tired, sorry. And that's why we have catalase that comes up behind it, and it takes over from SOD and carries on donating these atoms to the free radicals, again, to prevent this cell damage occurring. And then we have glutathione peroxidase, which has a little bit more stamina, but very slow to react. So it comes up behind catalase and takes over again. Now these here, below here, are your dietary antioxidants. You may be familiar with most of them. Coenzyme Q10 is predominantly used in skincare supplements, actually, and skincare products. But it is a dietary antioxidant. And as far as the dietary antioxidants go, it is actually more effective than such as vitamin C. So we see vitamin C, which is what predominantly people would take for colds and to prevent colds and flus and to improve the immune response. Or if you've got hangover, they would take vitamin C. It is actually the least effective of all the dietary antioxidants, believe it or not. Vitamin E is more effective, and of course coenzyme Q10. So although these dietary antioxidants do play a role in protecting the cells, they quickly get saturated through the body. So they need replenishing regularly throughout the day because they are water soluble. So you need to literally be drip feeding the body constantly throughout the day for them to have even have a buffering effect in terms of protecting your healthy cells. So this is why we need to be making sure that our frontline defense, our internal antioxidants, are able to perform efficiently, because that's the only thing that's going to stop cell damage. So the two things that we need generally to keep a lid on, as I've covered, is inflammation and cell damage. So cell damage, I've just outlined to you in quite a bit of detail, so you can probably understand why it's so important to reduce the level of oxidative stress in the body, and which is leading to cell damage. But inflammation is linked to all these forms of conditions. Inflammation also hinders the digestive enzymes in the gut. So in terms of, doesn't matter how healthy your diet is, if you have a lot of inflammation in your gut that is impairing your digestive enzymes, unfortunately that is going to reduce the nutritional absorption, because you're not going to be breaking down the food that you're eating through your digestive that needs breaking down through your digestive enzymes, which in turn means that you're not going to be absorbing the nutrients and the goodness that's in the food that you're eating, okay? Because the gut's got to work extra hard to break down the food that's landing there solid, and the acid in the gut is going to destroy a lot of that goodness, and then the inflammation again is going to reduce again the level of absorption of the nutrients that you're taking in from your food. So this is why it is really, really important that we protect with our life these cells in the gut. Okay, it's so important. The gut literally makes up 70% of the cells in our whole body. It is the most important area of the body in terms of our immune system. So it doesn't matter what condition you're dealing with, you ultimately have to look at, pay close attention as to what you are putting, what's landing in your gut, because if there's lots and lots of cell damage going on through poor choices and lots of inflammation going on, well, your immune system isn't going to be able to serve you in the way that you want it to serve you moving forward with your recovery, or whether it is prevention. So this is where I want you to start taking notes. So we're going to start getting into all of the lifestyle and diet aspects of things now. So I don't know if anybody is on. Let me just double check and I can see. No, there's nobody come on. So there could be some people in the group. So I'm just going to carry on because you can all watch the replay anyway. So lifestyle factors and how they directly and indirectly affect the body negatively. So I'm just going to have a drink. Coffee, tea and other caffeine stimulants. Well, coffee and tea in general have a property that's referred to as tanning. Now, what tanning has is if you think, when you make a cup of tea or a cup of coffee in a white cup and you use the same cup over and over again, what you'll notice that it starts to stain the coffee cup. It starts to stain the porcelain, doesn't it? Well, that is the tannin that's doing that. So that tannin is doing something very similar to your intestines, essentially. So it's inflaming and causing irritation to the lining of the gut, tea and coffee. So if you're having lots and lots of tea and coffee on a daily basis, whether it be caffeine-free or not, that is what's occurring inside your gut. Excuse me. Caffeine in general is going to raise your cortisol levels. So if we refer back to what I covered just earlier on, when we were talking about oxidative stress and cell damage, raising your cortisol levels is going to contribute to oxidative stress and cell damage within the body. So again, that's another reason why we do not want to be having too much caffeine throughout the day. Now, there's a couple of tips and tricks that I can give you in terms of caffeine and improving those, getting that fix that you're looking for from caffeine. Okay, so you have caffeine beverages to give you a lifting energy, essentially, don't you? But the worst thing you can do if you're going to have a coffee is to have it first thing in the morning the minute you wake up. Now, the reason I'm saying that is because when we wake up first thing in the morning, our body naturally releases cortisol, and it does it to get us up and moving and active in the morning. So it gets us waking up. It is our natural flight or flight response hormone. Okay, so if you think of a wild animal that is being chased by another animal, it can be strolling along as carefree as anything, and then suddenly it sees something dangerous coming towards it, and it will literally just start running instantly. Now, that is its flight or flight response. That's in the body's natural defense mechanism kicking in. Okay, it's the same thing that happens when we wake up. So the body instantly kicks in and releases that cortisol to give us that instant energy lift to get us moving quickly. Okay. Now, with a wild animal, they as soon as that fear is gone, they literally go back into cruise mode, and they start the cortisol levels come back down, and they just as happy as Larry again. Our body doesn't have that capability of doing that quite as easily. So it comes up, and it takes a little bit of time for it to come back down again. So the last thing you want to be doing is having a caffeine fix and raising those cortisol levels even further when they're already naturally raised from you waking up. Okay, so if you are going to have a caffeine fix, is what I'm going to call it, first thing in the morning, please leave it a couple of hours. Okay, because you're going to allow those cortisol levels, those natural cortisol levels, to come back down again to a more stable level before you're raising them again with your cup of coffee that you want to be having. Okay. Now, I say ideally you want to be dropping the caffeine and working through it to start to withdraw the body from the dependency of caffeine. Okay, so again, that's not something you want to withdraw from quickly. I do talk you through, I've got on my online program, I do talk you through how to withdraw from caffeine and other stimulants or other things that the body can become dependent on in a more safe and manageable way. Okay, so you're not causing overwhelm to the body. But one thing you might want to try is something called matcha. Okay, now matcha has caffeine in, okay, but the difference is, whereas your coffee is giving you your caffeine, your coffee or your Red Bull drink or whatever it is giving you that instant, quick instant hit of caffeine. What this is doing, it's giving you a drip feed, a slow release of caffeine, okay? So it's not raising your cortisol levels as rapidly as what a cup of coffee is, or a can of Red Bull is, for example, okay? The other benefit that you're getting from the matcha tea, now matcha is a form of green tea, okay? Now, any form of green tea will give you a slower release of caffeine as opposed to a massive hit of caffeine like the coffee is. But the added benefits that you're getting from the matcha as opposed to regular green tea is that matcha releases your one of your happy hormones, essentially, and it counteracts the negative effects of the cortisol. Okay, so it gets your body to release dopamine from the brain. Okay, and what dopamine does is it just counteracts the negative effects, because you're raising those happy hormones, one of those happy hormones. I mean, I'll cover all the happy hormones further on in the training, but this releases one of them, and it's kind of you're getting the benefits of the caffeine by giving you that instant pick me up on a slower release basis, but it's counteracting the negative effects of the cortisol by raising those happy hormones, if that kind of makes sense to you. So that's a tip that you can apply to have the best of both worlds, I suppose. I mean, I love matcha. There's loads of different ways that you can have matcha. I mean, I squeeze fresh lemon into it. You could even put some peppermint leaves into it. There's absolutely loads you could do with it. Have it hot, you can have it cold. It's very, very versatile. So that is worth giving a try. Now, alcohol. As we all know, alcohol is not good for us. I'm not teaching you anything that you probably don't already know. But what does alcohol actually do? Well, alcohol is highly acidic to start with. Okay. Now, again, when we touch on the dietary aspects, raising your acidity levels is going to contribute to inflammation in the gut. Okay. Now, from an acidic body is like a playground when it comes to things like cancer. As I say, it's going to contribute to cell damage. It's going to contribute to inflammation. So there's so many reasons that you need to regulate your alcohol consumption. Not only that, but alcohol is highly dependent. Your body becomes highly dependent on alcohol. So you don't necessarily have to be an alcoholic to have a problem with alcohol. If you are consuming alcohol on a daily basis, or even just regularly, there's a possibility that your body has developed a dependency to alcohol. Okay. Now, again, withdrawing from that suddenly you can't just withdraw from alcohol suddenly if you are engaging in it on a daily basis. So again, you need to be withdrawing from that very, very slowly, which again I can guide you through in the workshop, which I'll discuss with you at the end of this in the boot camp, which I'll discuss with you at the end of this workshop. But yeah, alcohol causes absolute chaos in the gut, absolute chaos. Smoking. So what does smoking do? Well, smoking causes inflammation, cell damage, and it also causes the immune system to behave erratically. Now, what happens with smoke when you're a smoker? The best way I can describe this is that if you think back to when you first started smoking, you will have first started to cough and splutter and all over the place. You really wouldn't have looked very cool at all. But you would have persevered and persevered and persevered. And eventually you'd have stopped coughing and sputtering all over the place. Okay. Now, what's happened there is that you have, when you first started smoking, that's your body telling you that you are putting substances into the body that is causing harm to it, and it doesn't like it, and it's trying to get rid of it. So because you're breathing those chemicals into your respiratory area, you coughing is your body's way of coughing out what's causing it harm. But essentially, because you're not listening to it, it then thinks, hang on a minute, you are keeping me away from dealing with other jobs that I need to be attending to, and you're not listening to me anyway. So I'm going to stop trying to get you to listen to me, and I'm going to switch off from all that damage that you're causing to the body with the smoking that you are engaging in. So it literally switches off. Switches off. It switches off for a period of time every time you light up. So when it switches back on again, it's a bit like if we have a power nap throughout the day, you're a bit bewildered, aren't we? Same thing with the immune system. It's waking up and it's just all bewildered. It's like, well, where do I, because it's obviously been exposed to lots and lots of things from the environment, from your diet, from your lifestyle, while it's been switched off. So it's like, well, where do I start first? It doesn't know where to look. So it can become very confused and erratic in its behavior. Okay, and that's when it can start to attack the body internally, and that can contribute to autoimmune disease as well. Okay, so there's loads of reasons why smoking is an absolute no. In fact, it has been known with autoimmune disease, if they've hit a brick wall in the medical profession with drugs, with the immune suppressants, and somebody is a smoker, they've encouraged them. It's not something I agree with. They've encouraged them to carry on smoking. And the reason being is because it's switching off the immune response frequently throughout the day. While the white blood cells, which is a part of the immune response, is switched off, it's not attacking the body internally. And that's their approach to regulating their symptoms with those people that have hit a brick wall with the medications. As I say, it's not the answer by any stretch of the imagination. Yes, it's preventing the immune system from attacking the body internally, but it comes with its own set of consequences as well, as we know. So it's causing cell damage, it's causing inflammation, which is contributing to the onset of things like cancer, which is another reason why people with autoimmune disease generally do have an increased risk of developing cancers in the future. So yes, that's smoking covered. Carbonated drinks. Now, carbonated drinks, they inflame the gut and they can make you feel very bloated. So when you have any fizzy drinks and you feel a bit bloated, that's the irritation of the lining of the gut that's causing that bloating feeling. So so again, that's another reason why to stay away from carbonated drinks or keep them down to a minimum, because they are going to irritate and inflame the lining of the gut. They also raise your acidity levels as well. So that's another reason to avoid them. Excessive exercise. Now, this is one of those things that's a bit of a double-edged sword. There's quite a number of things that in life, unfortunately, that are double-edged swords when it comes to our health. In moderation, it's very, very good for us. In excess, it's not so good for us. Now, exercise, as we know, is absolutely, we should all be engaging in it. It's very, very good for us. To keep the old heart ticking away, and keep the blood pressure down and things like that. However, when you engage in exercise excessively, that again can cause the immune system to switch off. Now, you usually find this more so in people who engage in a lot of cardio. So things like if people are doing a lot of marathons, long distance runners, that's more common in those people, because their immune system, the body becomes so overwhelmed, so exhausted. The immune system literally switches off. Now, that's something I can relate to personally myself, because I used to run professionally when I was younger. And I can tell you, I was always down with a cold. Always. Now, if you ask anybody who has run professionally, long distance wise, they will tell you the same thing. They'll be frequently down with colds and flus. And that's because of the immune system switching off for a period of time. It can switch off for anything up to 24 hours. So during that period, you're exposed to viruses, you're exposed to infections and other illnesses. And your immune system, as good as it may be, isn't switched on to respond to those viruses and infections that the body's been exposed to, and dispose of them quick enough before they're invading the healthy cells. And it's when the virus and infection invades those healthy cells, that's what develops your symptoms. So you basically, your immune system has a window of about 48 hours to identify a threat and dispose of it before it affects our immune system, our cells in our body. And things like smoking, things like excessive exercise, that really does expose us to things like that, because the immune system's switching off again. Surgery again causes stress on the body. So that's going to raise your cortisol levels. So again, it's a bit of a double-edged sword. Yes, it is necessary in extreme cases, but quite often when you can find a lot of surgeons will go in with surgery and then still follow on with, particularly with cancers, or still follow on with chemotherapy or radiotherapy afterwards as a mopping up process. Whereas, that's a bit of a taking a sledgehammer to crack a nut approach. What you find a lot of the better surgeons and consultants do which is what my mum's consultant did with her. They go for the treatment first, because they will try to treat the problem and reduce the problem as much as they possibly can, which means that if they do have to engage in surgery, then the patient's not compromised for too long a period, being under surgery for too long, where it's raising the cortisol levels. Again, the more healing the body has to do, that's going to cause additional stress on the body and raise the cortisol levels. So again, it is a necessary evil sometimes, but it does cause stress on the body. So it's just something you need to always bear in mind. Conventional drugs and treatments, they, again, double-edged sword, necessary evil on occasions, but they come at a price, and the body will naturally, which is why you find that sometimes you'll find that you're given a drug and it doesn't work, or it gives you side effects, really horrible side effects. And all the side effects is your immune system identifying that you are pumping it full of drugs and chemicals that it doesn't like, that it knows it shouldn't be there, and it's reacting against them. And as it's reacting against them, it's attacking the body internally as well. So again, this is why prevention is so important, guys. It really, really is, because the less dependent you can become on the conventional drugs, the better. Yes, they are needed on occasions, in extreme, when the body's really under pressure, and it needs a bit of assistance to buy it time and create some breathing space there. But they are not there to for you to become dependent on them, and use as a vehicle of relieving you from doing what you need to be doing. They are not there for that purpose. Because they do come with their own set of consequences, as I've said, on a couple of occasions. Mental stress, again, we've covered that, you know, in a couple of these slides. Mental stress raises your cortisol levels. So it's really, 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 really important that we regulate these. And there's a couple of methods that we can use to control the level of stress our body is experiencing. And that's by releasing our happy hormones, as I mentioned before, with the matcha tea. So that's something that helps you stimulate one of these happy hormones, which I'm going to cover with you now. So anaerobic exercises. So for those of you who are maybe into law of attraction and things like that, you might find some of the coaches will say to, you know, jump up and down in the mornings and shout your affirmations and things like that. Now, what that's doing is that's by jumping up and down. In fact, I know one law of attraction coach, she refers to it as wake me up, shake me up. And all it's doing is it's releasing those endorphins through the body that is counteracting the negative effects of the cortisol. Okay. So that is one of your happy hormones. So that's one way that you can release those endorphins first thing in the morning. Or if you're feeling a little bit stressed throughout the day, just do some sort of a sort of anaerobic exercise. Just, you know, jump up and down and just shout some affirmations. I do that quite frequently to try and regulate. If I'm feeling a bit mentally overwhelmed, particularly with having a 2-year-old, I do that to try and bring my stress levels down a little bit. Serotonin, those are your happy thoughts, your affirmations, guided meditation. That's going to help to release serotonin. I mean, I just did a guided meditation this morning, which I do every morning. I did one just about an hour before I came on to do this training with you. Again, because I've been working all day on the laptop, I just want to quieten my mind and just bring those stress levels down. Bring that cortisol. Not that I was particularly stressed. I wasn't particularly stressed, but I just needed to bring those cortisol levels down, quieten my mind, and that's what that allows you to do. So so, you know, anything that makes you feel happy, thinking about your goals, visualizing your goals, that's going to make you feel happy. Doing something fun with your kids, that's going to make you feel happy. So yeah, that's another one of your happy hormones that's going to help to counteract the negative effects of the cortisol that's been released in the body through various avenues throughout the day. Dopamine. Now, for those of you who are into listening to motivational audios, that's what that's going to give you, and that's another thing that, you know, a lot of corporate companies, they get motivational speakers in, and that helps to release dopamine from the brain. So when we talked about the matcha tea, this helps to release that dopamine into the brain. So that's your goal setting, that's your motivational audios, you getting motivated about your goals, getting excited about your goals. That's going to get you to release that hormone into the body. Okay. Oxytocin, sorry, I always pronounce it wrong. Now that is your love and relaxation hormone. So things like if you go for a massage, having Reiki, Reiki would help to release this whole hormone. Cuddling up with your kids, cuddling up with your partner, kissing and cuddling with your partner, all these things that make you feel loved, desirable, all these things are going to help to release that oxytocin into the body. The great thing that you could do actually, if you do go for relaxing massages and Reiki sessions, you could always put on some guided meditation on as well. So that's going to sort of kill two birds with one stone in terms of your happy hormones, so to speak. So that's just tips and tricks that you can use to help to counteract the negative effects of the cortisol that's been released as a result of your diet and your lifestyle factors. Whether it be stress, whether it be substances that you're taking. As I say substances, I mean like caffeine and alcohol and smoking and what have you. That is just going to help to counteract the negative effects of that cortisol. Okay. Lack of sleep. Now, lack of sleep is a big one for a lot of people. Sleep is so important. I can't stress it enough to you. It's so important. Now, getting sleep is one thing, but whether you are getting quality sleep in terms of getting into that state of REM sleep, where your body is able to heal, because it's only through REM sleep that the body releases what's called our IGF-1 hormones. Now, our IGF-1 hormone is essential for repairing the body. Okay. So whether it is repairing the body on a whole generally, it could be from surgery, it could be from illness, it could be through damaged cells, it could be through exercise, where your body needs to repair the muscle that you've damaged through engaging in that exercise. Your body must be able to release that IGF-1 hormone during restful sleep. Yes, we release a little bit while we're awake, but the bulk of it is done through our REM sleep. So it's really vital we get into REM sleep. So let me just see if So how do we get into REM sleep? Now, we first of all need to make sure that we are avoiding a lot of mental stimulation, brain stimulation, just before we're going to bed. If we are having lots of brain stimulation, that's going to keep our brain active. It's going to keep the adrenaline going. Again, avoid exercise at night time, because that's going to keep you awake and prevent you from going into restful sleep. Avoid things like social media just before you go into bed. It's a massive no-no. It's going to stimulate the brain. You don't want to be having anything that's going to stimulate the brain. Ideally, what you want to be doing is just unwinding, watching something that doesn't require much brain power on television or something, and then using things like EFT can help you in getting, just before you go to bed, can help you in getting into that restful sleep and REM sleep. A friend of mine, Emma Bailey, can help you with that, I'm sure. The other thing that I like to do is sleep hypnosis. I mean, I absolutely swear by it to drift off into restful sleep quickly. I literally, if I don't use it, I can be awake for hours, literally hours. And I do have a tendency to sometimes, particularly if my daughter's in with me, is waking up early hours in the morning. So again, unless I put that sleep hypnosis back on again, I won't get back to sleep again. So because my brain is always naturally very active. So it's really important that I quieten my mind and really get off to sleep. Without my brain ticking over and thinking about lots of things that I need to be doing and what have you. So yeah, I mean, those are things that you can try to improve your quality of sleep. But yeah, it is absolutely vital, honestly. Really is important. You're much better getting to bed earlier, getting a good quality sleep at night, and getting up earlier in the morning and being more productive. If you're struggling if you're thinking, well, how am I going to fit all my work in, Kate? Well, you're going to be less productive late at night when you're tired and you've done a full day at the laptop or with clients or whatever it is that you do. You're going to be less productive. Okay, your brain is going to be tired. You might not be. You might think that you have loads of energy, but trust me, your brain will be tired. So you are much better switching off earlier on, getting a good night's sleep, making sure you're getting that REM sleep, and then getting up earlier. I mean, if you see any of my posts on Facebook, you'll see I'm up every single morning between 5 and 5:30, and that's when I start my routine, my morning routine to prep my day. You know, I do my guided meditation. I do my jumping up and down like a crazy lunatic. I do my my journaling. I do all those bits and bobs. I do all that first thing in the morning, and then if I have any time before I get up, before Sophia gets up, then I will do a bit of work as well. Because my brain's on the ball with it. I'm more productive. So yeah, that's there. My tips. Moving for you, for what it's worth. So we're going to move on now. So I hope you're all okay with the lifestyle aspects of things. Now I'm going to move on to the diet now and how that affects the body negatively. I'm just going to have a very quick drink before I move on. So, sugar and carbs. Well, sugar and carbs play absolute havoc in the body in terms of how much insulin the body's releasing from the pancreas. Now, insulin does two things. One, as you're probably aware, it promotes the storage of fat in the body. Okay, so if you have a problem with losing weight or losing fat, losing inches, this is an area that you really need to pay close attention to, because we need to really regulate your insulin levels. Okay, it all varies relative to your activity levels, because what happens is you need to be filling up your energy stores. So that's what we need to be releasing insulin from the pancreas to fill up our energy stores for the day. Okay, but if our energy stores get filled up and we're not burning that off through our activities throughout the day, then that's when it's stored as fat. Okay, now if you are then not maintaining lean muscle, then the body will use once it's used up your energy stores as fuel, it will bypass your fat stores and go onto your muscle. I think I'm jumping ahead of myself here. I need to be talking to you about that one, protein. Sorry, getting a bit excited with myself. So sugar and carbs causes the body to store fat, and it also the pancreas. The thing is with the pancreas, when the pancreas releases insulin production causes an internal inflammatory reaction, and that internal inflammatory reaction causes the pancreas to release more insulin. So there's lots of reasons why we need to regulate our insulin production through controlling our intake of sugar and controlling what carbs we are consuming and how much carbs we are consuming on a daily basis, okay, relative to our goals and relative to our activity levels, okay. But if we then do not make sure that our body is in a position to effectively deal with that inflammation that's being caused as a result of releasing insulin, then it isn't enough just to deal with these things here. Okay, that's why we need to get the body working smarter again. Okay, which I'll cover a bit further on in this towards the end of the slides. So yeah, sugar and carbs is a massive one. Convenience foods. Convenience foods are full of simple carbohydrates, so they're full of the wrong carbohydrates. They're full of preservatives, numbers, and all sorts of awful things like that. So they're going to raise our free radical levels in the body. They're going to cause irritation in the gut, as well as raising our insulin levels in the body. Acidic foods and drinks. as I've touched on previously before, these are going to contribute to inflammation and cell damage within the gut, okay? An acidic body is literally a playground when it comes to cancers, okay? So it's really, really important that we get our body as alkaline as we possibly can. Now, there's a number of ways that we can do that. There's a few tips and tricks that I can give you, as well as, you know, I mean, we do have to look at the foods that we're eating, because obviously there's certain foods which convert acidic in the body and certain foods that convert alkaline in the body, okay, which I cover in my online boot camp. But, you know, things that you can focus on for the time being is shop-bought juices. These are highly acidic. Again, as I touched on earlier on, fizzy drinks, these are highly acidic in the body. So by avoiding these two things, that's going to reduce your acidity levels. But one thing you can do to try and alkaline the body is lemon water. Now, I have lemon water. In fact, I've got that's what I'm drinking now, is lemon and chaga, actually. This helps too. Lemon is acidic on the outside of the body, but it's actually alkaline when it's consumed internally. So that's absolutely amazing for alkaline the body, and that's a really good start for you to start to take today, is having lemon water, warm lemon water first thing in the morning to help cleanse the blood and get the digestive system going. And of course reduce those acidity levels in the body as well. There are lots of other things that you can engage in, things like water ionizers, but you know, those are more pricey. But a more cost-effective thing that you can do and get started with today is this with the lemon water. So, lack of protein, as I jumped ahead of myself on the carbs, lack of protein. Now, lack of protein can cause lots and lots of problems in the body, particularly when it comes to fat loss. If we are not consuming enough protein, now the body uses two things to repair the muscle. It uses protein and it uses IGF-1. Now, it's all very well and good us making sure that our body is releasing lots of IGF-1 and we're getting plenty of sleep and repairing from that perspective. But if we are not keeping our protein levels up relative to our activity levels and relative to our size and sex, then the muscle is not going to be repairing efficiently, okay? And that is absolutely vital when it comes to the fat metabolizing process. So when it comes to you burning off your fat, you need to be maintaining lean muscle. It's also really important if you want to build lean muscle. So if you're going to the gym and you want to build and tone lean muscle, again, you need to be making sure you are having adequate levels of protein. If you're not, you need to maintain lean muscle to be able to build it in the first place. Okay, so you know, again, I cover all these more into that in my Get Healthy Bootcamp. Hard to digest foods. Again, you know, this is going to cause irritation in the gut. It's going to damage the cells and it's going to cause more inflammation. Predominantly things that are hard to digest is red meat. Red meat is really, really, really hard to digest. The simple carbs, saturated things that have been fried in fat. So things like your KFCs, for example, those would be really, the chicken itself won't be hard to digest. It's what they've cooked the chicken in that's hard to digest. So those things are really good to sort of keep down to a minimum. That's not to say that, you know, we all like a good steak, you know, now and then, you know, but having it, you know, lots and lots of times during the week. I mean, I would maybe have a steak maybe once a month, but I wouldn't have it once a week. That's not to say that you know, if you don't have a particular specific problem that you need to be dealing with, that you can't get away with having a nice steak once a week, for example, as a treat. You can, by all means, but it's when you're having lots and lots of red meat throughout the week, that's when the problem occurs. So, as I've sort of touched on throughout, I have a program called the Get Healthy Bootcamp. Now, what I have in this program has 7 challenges to help you turn all your bad habits around the dietary aspects that we've just covered into consistent good habits. Okay. Now, we do this in a very, very controlled manner, and it's designed to ease the body through this process so you're not causing additional overwhelm mentally or physically on the body. So physically, we want to avoid it, because if we cause physical overwhelm to the body, that's going to raise our cortisol levels. So it's kind of counteracting all the good that we're doing. So we're taking away a challenge to the body that the body doesn't like, but we're replacing it with raising our cortisol levels too much by addressing too many things all in one go. Okay, now that applies to your diet and your lifestyle aspects. Now, inside the program, I do guide you through the lifestyle aspects, but in these set challenges, we cover specifically the diet aspects of things. Okay. Now, the challenges that we cover in the boot camp is between challenge 1 and challenge 2. We knuckle down on regulating the insulin levels. Challenge 3, we look at reducing the acidity levels in the body. Challenge 4 and 5, we focus on improving and healing the healing process in the gut. Okay, so we do that by going through a very mild liquid program. It's very, very manageable. I promise you, it's not difficult to do. But all it's doing is it's relieving that workload on the gut, so the gut's not having to focus on breaking down lots of solid foods throughout the day for just a short period of time. We only do it for about 5 days, but it just allows the gut to rest, not have to break down any solids, and it can really focus. Your IGF-1 can really focus on healing that gut. Because if you think about it, every time you have some solid food, the harder it is to break down, the worse this is going to be. If you've got inflammation and trauma in the gut from years and years and years of bad choices, then it's like picking off a scab. And if you know yourself, if you've got a scab, you cut yourself and you keep picking off the scab, it's not going to heal. Same thing applies to the inside the gut. So that's why it's really good to give the gut a little bit of a rest from time to time, just to accelerate that healing process. In fact, I'm going through a liquid period at the moment. So yeah, I do it periodically, just to give my gut a little bit of a rest. Particularly because I've got Crohn's. It's more important for me to do that more regularly. I'm jumping ahead of myself there, sorry. Challenge 6, that's when we look at the protein levels and fats. And challenge 7 is where we start to look at introducing the right snacks relative to your goals and your activity levels. Okay, so whether we may need to keep topping up your carb levels, for example. So we just cover those in that last challenge there. And there's a bonus challenge at the end, which sort of helps you to get more active in terms of your getting to grips with your lifestyle aspects if you haven't already laid out a plan for those moving forward. So all that program is normally 100. It retails on my site for £100. It is a 21-week program. It comes with resources and tools. It comes with weekly Q&A. So you're absolutely not alone ever. If you're stuck, you've got the weekly Q&A that you can ask me any questions. You've got the support group. You've got the resource that you can refer to as well. So I've designed it so it's easy for you to make better choices moving forward, not just for yourself, but for the rest of your family as well. So this program will help you to not only learn how to achieve your own health goals, but also teach you how to adjust it accordingly relative to other family members or friends' health or nutritional requirements. So it's really, 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 really good, you know. And yeah, so you've got it for life. The other thing that's I'll tell you how you can get your hands on that for free at the end of this workshop. But there's a couple of other things I want to cover with you before we finish off. Deficiencies. Now, deficiencies can cause absolute havoc in the body. Now, when we talk about our 7 a day or 5 a day, as some people might refer to it as, this. A lot of people think your 7 or 5 a day is to get all your dietary antioxidants into you. No, it is to make sure that you are getting adequate levels of all your vitamins and your minerals. Now, some of them can be stored in the body, so you don't need to be too stressed about making sure that you are getting certain ones, the fat soluble ones, into your diet every single day, because your liver will store them and it will just use what it needs on a daily basis. And so long as you're topping it up, you know, a couple of times, you know, three or 4 times during the week, it doesn't matter so much, you know. And you want to really make sure, well, you know, take a multivitamin first thing in the morning, you know, and you're eliminating that problem. But it'll always be stored. Fat soluble vitamins and minerals will always be stored in the liver, and your body will only take what it needs day to day from the liver. Okay, so you don't need to stress so much about those every single day. Where you do really need to focus on is your water soluble ones. Now, they get saturated super quickly through the body. So all you have to do is go for a wee, and you're going to be flushing out some of those water soluble vitamins that you are consuming. So you need to be drip feeding your body throughout the day with those ones. Now, those are essentially the ones that I covered in the pyramid. So your vitamin C or your B vitamins, all these need to be drip fed throughout the day. Okay, so I would always encourage you to supplement those. I mean, vitamin C, you should be getting enough vitamin C if you're having enough fruit and vegetables. Obviously more veg than fruit because of the sugar element. But you should be getting enough vitamin C throughout the day if you're having enough fruit and veg. Where I would encourage you to supplement is your B vitamins, because some of them can't be consumed enough through your fruit and your vegetables, particularly your B1 and your B12. So I would always supplement those and then try and drip feed throughout the day wherever possible. That would be my advice with those. But deficiencies can cause absolute havoc on the body. Things like vitamin C. Vitamin C is absolutely vital for binding iron. So forget about vitamin C as a dietary antioxidant, as I've said before. It's essential for other things like binding iron. It's essential for producing collagen. It assists in the production of collagen within the skin. So each vitamin and mineral has its own independent role. Okay, and they are important for those things. And those things alone, okay, not as part of your not as a dietary antioxidant at all, okay. Another one that is important, vitamin D3, and that's another one that I would always say to supplement, because it is important for absorbing calcium. So it doesn't matter how much calcium you absorb, you consume through your diet. My voice is going, I'm so sorry. If you are lacking in vitamin D, you will not be absorbing calcium, and that can contribute to osteoporosis and weakening of the bones generally. So you can see there where certain vitamins play a part in the absorption of other vitamins and minerals that the body is highly dependent on for really important functions within the body. So it's really important to understand if you have any deficiencies, and address those if you are low in anything. Okay. Intolerances. Now, intolerances are huge, and these change all the time. I know a lot of people maybe focus on things like avoiding wheat, because they may suspect they have a wheat intolerance, and gluten, again, they may avoid things like those, and dairy and lactose, because they suspect that they may have an intolerance to those things. But, you know, it's no good guessing. You need to be certain, because yes, you may be absolutely right, you could have an intolerance to those things, but you may also have an intolerance or an allergy to other food groups as well. And unless you know what they are, you can't restrict those from your diet. And if you don't restrict them from your diet, that is going to be causing inflammation to the gut. Okay, so it's really, really, really important that you identify what these are. It's no good guessing, because you can have an intolerance in varying degrees to things that you might not even think of. I mean, a common one is actually eggs, and that's because the vaccines, their base, our vaccines that we get, our kids get, their base is egg white, and of course the vaccines are designed to cause the body to create antibodies against a virus or something, and how it does that is by putting that particular virus into the body, just a mild dose of it, and the immune system reacting against it to produce that antibody. So what's happening is the body is identifying the egg white as a foreign object. So it's quite common that the body can actually develop what's called an allergy, as opposed to an intolerance, to eggs, to particularly egg whites, but you can have an intolerance to egg yolks as well, and reacting against it and attacking the gut internally as you are consuming that food. Now, the same thing can apply to anything. It could apply to oranges, it could apply to lettuce, it could apply to garlic, it could apply to absolutely anything, and you may not even be aware of it. So it's really, really important that you identify those intolerances. Now, there is a really, really convenient way to do it, and that's through something called a diagnostic test using a hair sample. I say it's super, 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 super convenient. You don't need to line up at the hospital and wait for hours for bloods or anything like that. It can be done with a hair sample. And these tests, absolutely, they amaze me sometimes. I mean, what they pick up. I mean, I can have clients discuss certain issues with me, they can tell me, for example, that they already know they're anemic, and the test will tell me that, they are low in iron, or and they're low in other things. Or it may tell me that they're low in vitamin C, which is contributing to their anemia. So it's absolutely remarkable what comes up in these tests. But it tests for your intolerances and your food allergies. It tests for deficiencies. So it'll tell me exactly what vitamins and minerals you are deficient in. It'll tell me how severe the deficiencies are. So I can tell you then whether you need to be supplementing and to improve those levels, or you can rectify it through your diet and your food intake. It'll tell me if your pH or acidity levels, what they're like. It'll tell me what your gut flora is like. It'll tell me what your hydration level's like, and absolutely loads more. It even tells me things like if certain organs are functioning sluggishly, which could indicate potentially a problem, or it could just mean that there's lots of toxins surrounding that specific organ that's preventing it from working on all cylinders. So it's absolutely, absolutely amazing test to get done. I'll give you details of that at the end of this workshop. So for now, I am going to cover with you nutritional essentials and how to start to get the body working a bit more efficiently. Okay, so your daily essentials, and I've covered a few of these already, when we're covering all the dietary things. Water-soluble vitamins, these are your absolute daily essentials. I say these are your vitamin C and all of the B group vitamins. So I would highly recommend that, so your vitamin C, you should be getting enough through your intake of your vegetables and your fruit that you're having throughout the day. You should be. If you're not, then obviously that can be picked up in a diagnostic test and we can address it accordingly, because it may be that your digestive enzymes are impaired and you're not absorbing nutrients sufficiently, maybe, and maybe we need to be supplementing it for the time being, short term. Your B vitamins, I would absolutely get a vitamin D, a B compound drops. You can get ones with added B12 in. That's what I use. Now I get the one from Holland and Barrett. So yeah, those are absolutely essentials. Your vitamin D3, as I've covered before, predominantly because, I mean, it's what was referred to as sunshine vitamin. So when we absorb we're in the midday sun, and we're not blocking it out. What that does is it allows the body to convert the UVB rays into vitamin D3. Okay, but if we're not getting enough, which we don't, we generally don't, and even if you put sunblock on, that blocks it out. That blocks out the UV rays. So your body's not going to be able to convert it anyway. But the sheer fact that you've got sunblock on, so it's a bit of a catch-22 situation. You need the sunblock on to stop skin damage, but it's blocking out the what's needed for the body to convert to produce its own vitamin D3. So yeah, we need to be supplementing it, ideally, and depending on how much will depend on your personal circumstances health-wise. So generally speaking, you can get away with, if you've got no major issues going on with your health, you can generally get away with about 1,000 IU a day, which you can buy vitamin D3 sprays in 1,000 IU and 3,000 IU. A lot of good pharmacies, chemists, even Holland and Barrett, they sell it. So yeah, but if you have more things like cancer, autoimmune disease, then you need a much higher level of vitamin D3. Now my suggestion would be to sort of go up to something like 12,000 IU. That's what I take. So I generally tend to get the 3,000 IU spray, and I take 4 sprays of that. The final thing, which I would categorise as your daily essentials, is omega-3. Now, specifically the EPA, DHA, and ALA element of omega-3. Now, let me just explain to you what EPA and DHA is for and why it's important. Now, these two properties are only found in fish oil. And EPA is absolutely essential for assisting the body in addressing inflammation. Okay, so if you revert back to what I said about it's not enough to deal with your primary sources of inflammation, because, excuse me, because by the sheer fact that you've produced lots of insulin, that in turn is going to cause an inflammatory reaction. So unless your body then has the tools to put those internal flames out, to deal with that inflammation internally, that domino effect of inflammation causing the pancreas to release insulin, and the pancreas releasing insulin and causing more inflammation, is going to continue. So it's really, really important that you consume adequate levels of EPA. Okay. Now, DHA is vital for our cognitive function. So it's important to all of us. Don't get me wrong. It is absolutely important to all of us. But it's more important for children in their development years. So when they're going through school, and they are, from being a baby, really, their cognitive development is absolutely vital. So getting DHA into children is so important. But There is, when it comes to fish oil, you need to be really, really careful, because you can, if you buy capsules, it has to be consumed super fresh to start with, okay? Which means it's got to be treated and preserved. Now, there's only two ways that you can treat and preserve fish oil, okay? And that's by encapsulating it. So when you get omega-3 fish oil capsules, it's been, the life expectancy has been extended by it being treated through the capsulation process, or through a process that converts it into powder, and it preserves the properties and extends the life expectancy. And this is a patented process. Now, the downside to the oil is, now, and this can be proved by asking the company for a product analysis report, the chances are they are providing a product that they have extended the life expectancy of which is coming towards the end of its original shelf life. Okay, so which means the EPA and the DHA element, which is what we want to be at its maximum potency, is reduced reduced dramatically at the time of capsulation. Okay, because the product itself is coming towards the end of its life, and they're just extending it from there on. Okay, whereas what you need to be doing is extending the life expectancy at its most potent, so as it's come out of the sea pretty much, to get the maximum benefit of it. Now, I do have a product that is pharmaceutical grade fish oil powder, and has gone through this patented process to preserve the properties and extend that life expectancy of the ingredients for 2 years. So again, I'll talk to you about that at the end. I'll tell you how you can find out about that at the end. Now, the other thing that you need to be having on a daily basis is ALA, as I mentioned in the daily essentials slide. Now, alpha-lipoic acid is really important for binding all the fatty acids. So if you are deficient in alpha-lipoic acid, then it doesn't matter how much of any of your fatty acids that you are consuming, you won't be binding them. Alpha-lipoic acid is absolutely important for binding it. Okay. Now, what has alpha-lipoic acid in? Organic flaxseed is the best source of alpha-lipoic acid, and you can throw that into smoothies. You can throw that into yogurts, cereals. There's loads of ways that you can consume flaxseed. But yeah, it's one thing that can actually cause absolute havoc on the body if you are deficient in it. In fact, the product that we have, it's called Complete Omega. So it's actually a combination of organic flax and this pharmaceutical grade of omega fish oil. So yeah, it's an absolute fabulous product. So those are your daily essentials that I've covered. Now, where we get a little bit more advanced is where you look at things like immunotherapy, and that's where you start to get the body, certain elements of the immune system performing more efficiently. There's a lot of cancer treatments that sort of engage in an immunotherapy approach, and that's where they'll take specific cells from the body, they'll work their magic in a lab with antibodies, and then they'll now re-administer those cells back into the body to perform more efficiently by getting them mixing with specific antibodies prior to putting them back in, and that's referred to as immunotherapy. But another thing that you can engage in, which kind of takes on a more generalized approach, is something called non-specific immunotherapy. And that's where we can engage in functional foods that basically get our internal defense process firing on all cylinders again. Now, this process is not like going and getting your daily essentials. It's a lot more costly. So it's not for everybody. So it's all relative to where you are with your health, what you're wanting to achieve, and how committed you are, in a nutshell. Because there's no point in starting something like this if you're not committed, because otherwise it's a complete and utter waste of money. So I'm not going to go into this because it's going a bit too advanced for you on here. It's something that I will talk to you about in a consultation or something, one-to-one, which you can get alongside a diagnostic test. So when I do consultations with people to discuss these more advanced nutritional products that work on a non-specific immunotherapy basis. In fact, I even discuss immunotherapy treatments with people, who may be going through cancer treatment and things like that. I do require diagnostic tests done and a health assessment form, which allows me to paint a picture and lay out a plan for you moving forward. Now I do have a limited time offer on for you for that, and it is very, very reduced, at a very, very reduced rate, just to sort of, for those of you who are action takers and really want to get the ball rolling. So I will provide you with all the details of that in a link. I'll give you the link to that in the group, or I'll email it to you. And in that link, you'll get all the details on how to access all the resources and challenges that I discussed with you in the Get Healthy Bootcamp, and how you can get hold of that completely free of charge. I'll tell you, you'll have details of the Complete Amigo supplementation that I talked to you about, and you'll have details of the diagnostic test and how to sort of get a consultation along with that as well. So I hope you found this workshop useful. We are at the end of it now. Hopefully you've made lots and lots of notes, but feel free to go over the content again. I will hop into the group next week and see how you're getting on with it and see if you've got any questions whatsoever. But for now, if you have any other questions before I do hop into the group, don't hesitate to drop me a message and I shall do my best to help you in that department. So I'm just going to stop sharing my screen now and close this off. So I want to thank you all for, if you've attended live in the group or you're watching the replay, I'd like to thank you again for your time. And I really, 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 really hope that you found it useful. Just make sure you check out the link that I'll give you to access all those things that I've discussed with you, and find out how you can get hold of your free access to the Get Healthy Bootcamp, and start to really get things moving for yourself. So thank you again, and I shall speak to you all very, very soon.